What would motivate a group of men to willingly run toward almost certain death? It seems illogical, but it has happened numerous times throughout history. But what is the logic behind such behavior? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we shall look at what motivated soldiers to be the first to climb the siege ladder during an attack. If you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button to get notified whenever we post a new video. Now, let's get into today's video. The primary motivation for soldiers to be the first to scale the siege ladder during an assault on a fortified position is the opportunity to earn renown and glory for their bravery. Being the first to reach the top of the ladder meant that they were the first to engage the enemy, and therefore had the chance to prove themselves in battle. For those fighting in sieges, especially during antiquity and the Middle Ages, this was a highly coveted honor. The risk of death or injury was high, as those climbing the ladders were exposed to incoming projectiles and often faced overwhelming numbers of defenders at the top. However, the potential for glory and recognition was even greater, serving as a powerful incentive for many soldiers. This desire for recognition and glory was often deeply ingrained in the soldiers' cultures and values. Many came from backgrounds where bravery and martial prowess were highly regarded and encouraged. In some cases, it was a matter of upholding one's reputation and that of their family or community. In antiquity, the siege ladders were often used by infantry soldiers who would climb them carrying shields and swords. The idea of being the first to get to the top and engage the enemy was a very appealing one. To be the first man over the wall would mean that you were the most valiant, the strongest, the fastest, all qualities necessary to become a great warrior. For example, Roman soldiers during the Republic and Empire periods were known for their discipline and willingness to follow orders, but they also had a strong sense of individual initiative and ambition. They were not only fighting for the glory of Rome, but also for their own personal honor and recognition. This is exemplified in the account of the siege of New Carthage in 209 BC, a pivotal moment in the Second Punic War between Rome and Carthage. The Roman general Scipio Africanus led an attack against the city walls, which were defended by Hannibal Barca, the brilliant Carthaginian general. Despite heavy casualties, the Romans managed to breach the wall, thanks in part to the efforts of one young Roman soldier named Gaius Laelius. According to Polybius, a Greek historian who wrote about the siege, Laelius wanted to be the first to get into the city, so he took a big running leap and grabbed hold of the top of the wall with his hands. As he hauled himself up, the soldiers behind him helped pull him over the top, and he ended up being the first man inside the city. When news of his achievement reached the Roman camp, a trumpet was sounded in his honor, and upon his return to Rome, he was given the crown of the wall, a gold crown given to the first man to scale the enemy wall during a siege. This story illustrates the combination of factors that motivated soldiers to be the first to climb the siege ladder. The lure of glory, the desire for personal recognition, and the tangible reward of the corona moralis all played a role in inspiring acts of bravery and daring during ancient sieges. So how exactly did these soldiers go about attempting to be the first to scale the siege ladder? There was no single approach, and much depended on the specific circumstances of each attack. However, some common elements can be identified. First and foremost, soldiers needed to be physically fit and trained for such an undertaking. Scaling a siege ladder required a combination of strength, agility, and endurance. Soldiers would have engaged in exercises to develop their upper body strength, core stability, and cardiovascular fitness. Additionally, they might have practiced climbing and jumping techniques that mimicked the movements involved in scaling a ladder. During an actual assault, coordination and teamwork were crucial. Soldiers would often work together in groups, helping each other to climb and ensuring that the ladder remained stable. Communication and trust among the soldiers were essential for success. It was not uncommon for soldiers to carry tools such as hooks or ladders to assist in breaching the enemy's defenses. Once they reached the top of the siege ladder, these tools allowed them to help others who were struggling to climb and also to create openings in the enemy's fortifications. Once at the top of the ladder, soldiers would need to rely on a combination of skill and luck to survive. Engaging the enemy in hand-to-hand combat was inherently risky, and the element of surprise could be crucial. By being among the first to reach the top, soldiers had a better chance of catching the defenders off guard. They might also use the momentum gained from their initial climb to launch a surprise attack, giving them a tactical advantage. During the Middle Ages, Knights were often employed to lead the charge up the siege ladders. Knights were typically larger and stronger than the average medieval infantrymen, and were usually better equipped with sturdier armor and larger weapons. This made them better suited for the arduous task of scaling a siege ladder and engaging the enemy in close quarters combat. Furthermore, knights were often more experienced in battle and had undergone extensive training in martial arts and combat tactics. This experience and training made them better able to handle the challenges and dangers of leading a siege assault. The use of knights to lead the charge up the siege ladders was not universal, however, and varied depending on the resources and tactics of each kingdom or lord. Some medieval armies also utilized specialized units, such as the Swiss pikemen, who were known for their ability to form tight defensive formations and push back the enemy. Regardless of the specific units involved, the overall objective of any siege assault was the same: to overcome the enemy's defenses, capture the fortress, and achieve victory. As we said before, there were instances where entire groups of soldiers rushed to be the first to scale the siege ladders. This occurred during the Siege of Orleans in 1428, when the English were attempting to capture the city. The French defenders managed to repel several English assaults, but the English eventually breached the walls and entered the city. While there are differing accounts of exactly what happened, it's clear that multiple French and English soldiers were killed in the fighting around the siege ladders. Similarly, during the Siege of Constantinople in 1453, the Ottoman Turks attempted to breach the city's walls using siege ladders. The defenders, including the famous Byzantine Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, fought fiercely, and reportedly multiple Turks were killed in the fighting around the ladders. When studying ancient warfare, it is important to consider the various motivations that drive the actions of soldiers. While the desire for glory and personal recognition played a significant role in ancient warfare, it's not the only factor that should be considered. Soldiers were also motivated by a sense of duty, obedience to authority, and loyalty to their comrades. These factors are often overlooked but are equally important in understanding the behavior of soldiers in battle. Duty and obedience to authority were particularly important in the context of sieges, where soldiers were often under the command of experienced generals and officers. Soldiers were expected to follow orders, maintain discipline, and act in the best interest of their team. This was not only a matter of military necessity, but also a way of maintaining order and ensuring that the siege operations were carried out effectively. Additionally, soldiers fought alongside their comrades and had a strong sense of camaraderie and loyalty towards them. This sense of brotherhood made it all the more important for soldiers to be brave and stand by their comrades in the face of danger. Soldiers who exhibited cowardice or refused to follow orders were often seen as betraying their comrades and bringing shame upon themselves and their unit. This pressure to conform to the expectations of their peers likely influenced the behavior of soldiers during siege operations. Therefore, while the desire for glory and personal recognition was undoubtedly a motivating factor for soldiers in ancient warfare, it is important to consider the full range of motivations that influenced their behavior. Duty, obedience to authority, and loyalty to comrades were also important factors that should be taken into account when studying ancient warfare. Understanding the full range of motivations that drive soldiers in battle provides a more complete and accurate picture of their behavior and the complexities of ancient warfare. If you liked this video, please make sure to leave a like and comment down below to let us know what you thought about it. We also have other videos about similar topics that you might enjoy. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in the next video.